Right, good afternoon and welcome again to Arthur Brown Photography. In my last video a few days ago I was talking about lenses for the Sony full frame system and I spoke about the 35mm Samyang f2.8 lens I'd bought. Today I'm going to look at something a little bit different, a little bit more unusual. I've always had a bit of a fascination with ultra wide lenses. Even going back to the days of film, I had a 19mm Vivitar, I think it was an f3.5 lens. 19mm may not be wide by today's standards, but it was quite radical for and quite wide for the 1970s. When I first had a digital camera, it was an APS-C, a Canon, and it was a 350D, and it was very hard to get anything wide angle because of, we were still looking at the EOS range of lenses that were available for full frame at that time, coming from film cameras. And the widest I could find at the time was a 16mm Sigma fisheye, which was good. It gave a nice wide angle of view, but it was very distorted in the corners with a lot of curved verticals, and it took a lot of work in post to get it looking back to something like a normal view. But it was a good lens, probably the only one I could get at the time. As time went on, these things got better, and I did buy a 10-18 zoom later on as well, which was quite good. However, I've always liked the idea of a ultra wide prime. I think the next thing I bought when I had the Canon EF system was a Canon 14mm f2.8, and I bought that really because I was going on a photo shoot at Disney in Paris, and I wanted something that would, try and take in some wide views. I bought that, and it was very expensive at the time. Looking at about, I'm going back to 2014 there, and I think I paid about £1,400 for it. And actually, it was awful. It was difficult. It was autofocus, but it didn't really work that well, and no matter what you did, the corners were, were out of focus. The edges of the frame, it was awful. I sent it back in the end. I got a refund on it. It was pretty dreadful. I then went on to bought an Irix 15mm when they first came out, and that was an excellent lens. It was very little distortion, very wide angle of view, f2.4, so it was reasonably fast, and I used it a lot actually. But since I've changed the Sony system, I didn't have particularly anything that was wider than 20mm. So I started to look for an ultra wide, and I came across this one. It's the Laowa 15mm f2 0D, and I presume that the 0D stands for zero distortion. And whilst it probably hasn't got zero distortion, it's got very little. It actually provides a huge angle of view. Actually, I can't sure how many degrees is it. It might be 110, 116 degrees, but it's with very little distortion at the edges. It's very, very, very well developed in terms of its optical characteristics. The Laowa 15mm f2 is an all metal construction. It's got a metal. This is a Sony E mount, but it's an all metal bayonet mount. I've got a ND filter on there at the moment, so but it's actually got a 72mm thread on it. I've got a step-up ring to 70 something, 77 I think, yeah, 77 good. I've tried to standardise my filters at 2 sizes, 58 and 77, so I don't have to carry too many. As you can see, there's quite a bulbous front element in that, but it sits back from the filter thread, so you can put filters on it quite safely, unlike some ultra wide lenses. Now, I've not noticed any vignetting with this at all, so I think with a slim filter like this, it's okay. Right, this is a fully manual lens, so there's no electronics or automation in it. It's got a aperture ring there from f2 to f22. That's clicked at the moment, but if I turn it over, there's a switch on the bottom, and you can switch it to unclicked, which is perhaps more useful if you're doing video work. Although I must admit, the number of times when I actually have to change the aperture in mid-shot is quite so few and far between, but that's more often on this lens because it's you can't have it on shutter power to have it automatically altering the apertures. But that's dead smooth now, no clicks, so you could, you know, really move that nice and slowly to change the exposure within a scene without any drama or clicks or sudden jumps in the picture quality. In terms of focusing, it's got the infinity in the middle, focuses to the left, and it does close focus right down to 15 centimeters. So what's that in inches? And that's about 6 inches. So whilst I wouldn't say it's a macro lens, it does enable you to get in really close and still get everything in full focus. Now this is, I say, all metal construction, so it's quite a heavy lens. With a filter on, it's about 575 grams. So, you know, it's not as weighty as some there, but it's still noticeable. Yeah, there's an awful lot of glass in here as well. So, one thing that I find the ultra wides very good for, particularly ones like this Laowa that you know, have very little distortion, is interior shots. Particularly, I come up from a background of having worked in the property industry, and I was employed a lot of the time to take photographs and videos of the interiors of buildings, and this is excellent. It's again, it takes in a large part of a room, but without distorting it too much. As you can see from the bitty video that I'm going to put behind the commentary now, this lens is particularly good for taking in a whole room view when videoing. In this bit of film, I was actually doing a photo session for a baby, but as well as the still pictures that I was taking with my Sony A7 Mark IV, I was actually wanted to video the whole thing as well. So to get the whole thing in, I set the the other camera up in the corner with the 15mm lens, and I just set the exposure because it's manual, and just let it go, and it's done very well. So. Also, I've been out around the town doing a bit of street photography and architectural photography with this as well. I think it's particularly good for that type of thing because, again, you can photograph buildings without doing too much distortion. And you'll see from these few photographs I'm going to post now the kind of results that you can get from this lens. Now, obviously, as I said when we looked at the thing in more detail, this is a completely manual lens, so it has no electrical or electronic connection with the camera, so everything is manual. You have to set the aperture manually and have to focus it manually. So it's a bit old school from that point of view. But I don't know, perhaps a lot of people prefer manual control, particularly when using the lenses for video. I know that you know, I've got a few odd bits and pieces now, which I'll be talking about in the next few videos. And some of those lenses are, you know, Sony ones that will autofocus and do everything, singing, dancing. But some of them are vintage lenses. Again, whilst this is fairly new, it's not vintage. But I have some vintage style, vintage lenses, which again are completely manual and you know, do require some thought before one presses the record button. In terms of value, these lenses are actually quite expensive. I just checking today that one of these new is anywhere between about £750 and £800. Now, I was lucky, I found this on MPV. It's second hand, but it was described as in as new condition, and it was. You know, it came in a box with all the paperwork, and I wouldn't have known it wasn't brand new. But I only paid just a whisker over 400 for this, so I'm not sure I'd have paid £800 for a completely manual lens. I was a bit reluctant to pay £400 for this one, but the quality and the build and the picture quality, I think I've proved that it was actually very, very good value for money, and it should hold its value now if I look after it. Well, I hope you found this second instalment of my lenses for Sony full frame interesting, and I'll just say bye for now, and watch out for my next video.